ClueCon Weekly, the FreeSWITCH community's official web show. Tune in every week for updates in the FreeSWITCH project, interesting presentations, and interact with members of the FreeSWITCH community. ClueCon Weekly is brought to you by FreeSWITCH Solutions, the officially endorsed consulting firm of the FreeSWITCH project. FreeSWITCH Solutions solves problems so you can focus on your business. Visit FreeSWITCH.com for more information. The ClueCon WebRTC and Telephony Developers Conference. ClueCon is held every August in the Windy City, Chicago, Illinois. Meet the developers of all your favorite open source telephony projects, make the connections you need to meet your business goals, and see the latest and greatest technology in WebRTC and telephony. Visit ClueCon.com for more details.
All right, guys, welcome to ClueCon Weekly. Today is March the 9th, and we'll have Blake Priddy joining us all the way from Arkansas today, talking about deploying FreeSWITCH-based PBXs in rural school systems. So Blake will be joining us here shortly for that. I think, Mr. West, how are you doing today? You want to give us a ClueCon update?
Well, we're starting our sponsor run right now. I spent most of yesterday working with sponsors to get things lined out so we can start our social media announcements. Got a handful of those lined up. I'm just waiting on our last-minute phone calls either later this afternoon or tomorrow on some of those, and you'll start seeing Kathleen and myself start to announce those things. And don't forget, registration is open. It's buy now, pay later, so you can get your registration in early. If you guys have any questions, email marketing@cluecon.com. We'll be glad to answer those questions. If you guys need help convincing your boss to send you for any reason whatsoever, don't hesitate to give me a call. I've done that before, so I can help you convince your boss. All right, guys?
Yeah, guys, definitely catch that in there. And speaking of announcements on ClueCon, I think Kathleen wants to announce something today. And what's that, Kathleen?
Well, we have just opened sign up for speakers. You can navigate over to ClueCon.com and submit your speaking proposal now. Go ahead and get in on that early. We do like to try and get the best presentation, so make sure you've got all your information, pictures, things like that, so we can get that in there, get that announced, and you can get a good slot for speaking at ClueCon. This week, for the week in review, we had some more work done on moving libyuv into Tree. And that's kind of working and going. And then we're still pushing for crowd sponsorship for the Ubuntu packages, officially supported Ubuntu packages. Go to our GoFundMe /FreeSWITCH_Ubuntu to contribute to that effort, and that way we can get those in the works and help the devs get that going. And I believe that's it for the announcements. Make sure to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, join the IRC channel and the mailing lists so you can get all the announcements as they happen. I think that's about it.
Yeah, cool. Thank you, Kathleen. And yeah, guys, don't forget that if you want to speak at ClueCon this year, the call for speakers is open. Go on over to ClueCon.com, hit that calls for speakers link right there on the menu. You can fill out the little form there, put all your information in, and please include your headshot because we do use that for the website there. So we can, once you guys are selected, you'll be notified. You'll also show up on the website and all that other good fun stuff. So we've still got a little time before we're going to be selecting speakers, but go ahead and get those proposals in now. That way we can get an idea of how many speakers we got, topics of interest for people, and, get it on in there. No topics are off the books. This year we'll be having a lot of various things at ClueCon, IoT, 3D printing, of course, FreeSWITCH, all the VoIP-related and communication stuff. But you don't want to You don't want to miss it this year, so get those proposals in now. Also, of other interest, I think, Kathleen, you kind of skipped it there, but I want to reiterate this. There was a big change that went in the last week with libVPX and libYUV. Previously, we had been packaging those separately, and it's caused such a pain with people because those two particular support libraries, a lot of the distros out there have really old versions that are just outright broken, or in the case of like libYUV, that's really just, and VPX for that matter, they're just embedded into the browsers. There's not really an upstream that's doing proper packaging and proper versioning on that. So we just pulled those into trees. So that'll make it a little bit easier on you building FreeSWITCH going forward, and it'll remove a couple of system depths from you. So keep an eye out for that. You will notice that when you rebuild. So that will mean that some of you may run into a situation where you have to rebootstrap, or you may need to re-autoconf. So that will get you going quite heavily. Thanks to Mr. Jarrison and Mr. Minasali for getting that work done on there. So, guys, I'm going to go ahead and get Blake in here. Blake, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Here. Oh, man, we're doing pretty good here, man. Just watching for the rain here in the southeast today.
Yeah, it just passed us. So.
Yeah. So Blake is coming to us live from the parking lot of U of A over in Arkansas. So Blake, if I get this correct, let's see here, a little history on you. You used to work for one of the rural school systems over there, and you guys deployed you guys deployed FreeSWITCH. You may have deployed Asterisk at one point in time, and you stayed on FreeSWITCH, and it's worked so well for you with FreeSWITCH that you're no longer with that particular school, but you're now doing this for several other school systems there in Arkansas.
That's right. So I was at Bryant for 6 years as a network engineer. We had an old 3Com system that if you cut the power to it, it would take at least 25 minutes to come back up. So we were exploring some options. We tried Asterisk, pre-PBX for the interface and stuff like that, but we just stuck with FreeSWITCH. And it was easier to maintain. The uptime right now is unreal. I haven't even logged in to see how long the machine's been up. But it's saved so much money for the school district when it comes to before, when we had the 3Com system, you'd have to buy the endpoint, you'd have to buy a license for the phone, and then you'd have to buy a seat for the phone. So there were so many costs that went into it that I'm sure that the school has saved $50,000 so far since moving to FreeSWITCH, and continuing to save more now with moving to SIP trunking. So they had a PRI, we had an AdTran gateway there, but there's just a lot of cost savings, and the problem is the education of the other schools. So that's where I'm taking me and my business out to other schools to help them save money, because I don't know if anyone is familiar with E-rate, but that is how a lot of schools get funded from the government, and they are cutting off telecommunications 20% every year. So every year from now, 20% of your funding for telecommunications will go away. So they've kind of twisted a lot of schools' arms into looking into voice over IP solutions, and a lot of those other people like ShoreTel and all those people are trying to get in there and take the business. But the thing different about me is that I not only put a phone system in, but I educate them for SIP trunking as well. Because it's one thing to save money for just the one-time implementation, but what the business people and administration like to see is that residual savings, and that's where SIP trunking and FreeSWITCH comes into play.
Yeah. So now, you kind of mentioned the E-rate thing there. So for guys that don't know what that is, that's just a big federal program where prices are kind of locked in, and there's so much funding for the school to pay for things like telecom. And traditionally we saw that's how they were paying for their stuff back to the legacy phone companies like AT&T and Verizon and all those other guys, and that's going away. So, what kind of political stuff did you run into with getting FreeSWITCH deployed in that environment?
So there's a big problem when you mention open source phone system to a school, and that problem being is where are they going to get support? So I'm kind of being that proxy for support, and then reaching out to the community because they don't know where to go. These tech directors and IT coordinators, I mean, they have a lot on their plate, but they were people that were probably a media specialist or a librarian last year, and now this year they're an IT coordinator. So, and they have all this money to be in charge of, and I think that it's kind of my job to help them save money and utilize that money to go back into technology for, let's say, Chromebooks for the kids or something like that. Just put the money into education part of it instead of just wasting it to certain telecommunication providers, AT&T.
Right. Now, from a more technical perspective, what kind of things are you guys actually doing with FreeSWITCH? Are you guys just doing just the phones, or are you guys doing a lot more than that?
So we're doing the phones, and we do bells and intercoms over it too. So we utilize FreeSWITCH for the intercom, but we use multicast for the all call and bells. But we don't use the multicast feature within FreeSWITCH. We just let the network handle that from the endpoint. And there's also a software that we like to deploy called Bell Commander. It lets you do tornado drills, fire drills, set schedules for your bells, and it just sends it over a multicast stream, and the phone's listening to it. But that's pretty much what we're doing with FreeSWITCH is IVRs to cut down on the receptionist having to answer the phone calls whenever they have to check in kids and stuff like that. So there's a lot of features that come with FreeSWITCH that you would have to pay for something else, and that's really what the schools like to hear, is that they don't have to pay for a voicemail license or something like that.
Right. Now, as far as the hardware for, say, like in the classrooms, are you guys doing just regular off-the-shelf IP hard phones, or are you guys doing some call boxes and that kind of stuff?
We're doing Yealink in the classroom because I've had problems with SNOM and multicast whenever I was at Bryant. Sometimes it's hit and miss on whether it would listen, but Yealink has been really solid as far as listening to the stream. For the hallways, we're putting in SNOM PA1s to play over their existing speakers because there's already an amp in the closet for their intercoms. So we put a PA1 in there tied into their amp. We also do clock speakers by Advanced Network Devices, and those will get multicast and register over SIP, and they have a clock on them. So it's pretty much just unifying all that together into SIP. And FreeSWITCH is the driver, the conductor.
Yeah, cool. So what kind of when you guys were deploying this kind of stuff, what kind of technical challenges did you run into, or did you find in working in that environment?
So about 5 of all the schools in Arkansas have VLANs. Every other school, like I said, the IT coordinator they're understaffed for IT, and they just don't really have the time and knowledge to VLAN their network off. So usually on a big implementation, we'll include VLANing for them. And a lot of schools don't even have PoE. So we just kind of educate them on how PoE can benefit them now and how it should have benefited them in the past. But it's just they're hurting out there, and that's why I feel like it, because man, Bryant is probably one of the bigger schools in Arkansas, and a lot of these other schools don't really have the manpower and the funding that Bryant did. So that's where I'm kind of going in to say, hey, let's help you save some money. Let's get this in here.
am I getting this right? So basically, what they did when you get outside of the, say, like Little Rock metro area schools, right? You get out into like Bryant and a lot of the rural communities that you're doing this in. They just take in a librarian or a teacher or some other normal school administration person and said, "Hey, poop, you're now an IT person, and
Yes.
yeah, figure it out. Here's a pile
Yep.
of money. Do something with it."
And that's where I kind of go in, because I've been converted to the dark side, I guess. I'm now a vendor, and I'm not in K-12 anymore. So I go in there and I'm like, listen, I know what situation you're in. Let me help you. And then it's kind of a friendship off that. But more importantly, I'm showing the administration that you don't need to go with this crazy expensive solution whenever there's something out there in the world to just sit it and forget it, pretty much.
Yeah. So you mentioned Shoretail a bit earlier, and I know
Mhm.
you talked about 3CX and stuff. When you run across a school that's like evaluating Shoretail and trying to look at an open source solution based on FreeSWITCH and just off the shelf phones like SNOMs, what kind of I guess you could say technical advantage, or outside of, obviously FreeSWITCH can be a much lower cost solution because you're not having to buy Shoretail stuff, but from a technical perspective, what kind of advantages are you able to show school administration with that?
I ask them, how do they feel about paying licenses? So
and then they go from there.
yeah, so I kind of do a cost breakdown for like CUCM, Shortel, stuff like that. But I'm there to save them money, and I feel like you guys have helped out a whole lot whenever I have a question or anything like that, and the community has been great to help schools give a good solution to them, because not even any of the schools look at CUCM. It's mostly big high-end businesses that look at CUCM or Avaya or something like that. But that's where you guys have came in and helped me, especially with faxing for K-12. I don't understand why, but K-12 is going to stay faxing until the end of time. I don't know why, but
that's not just K-12.
and even interdepartmental faxing. They're like, we want to fax this from the elementary to the middle school. I'm like, this has the capability of scan to email, but it's just catering to their needs. So I don't really care much about it. I just try to get it going for them. Throw an ATA in there, get it registered. There you go. Have a good day.
Yeah. No, I totally get that. So, how much? Yeah, since you brought faxing up, that's just kind of. It seems to be one of those things. I know myself. I know Brian over there. We beat our heads into the table with that on a regular basis because
Brian is the man when it comes to faxing.
Oh yeah, well yeah, well he has more test cases than he knows what to do with over there, so he can usually find out what's going on pretty quick. But with that, it's not just those guys. So it's not just FreeSWITCH, because we know FreeSWITCH does faxing really, really well. And when we do have an issue, it's something that in an unstable version that gets fixed rather quickly, because that's just one thing that, oh my God, I wish it would die, but it won't. What with dealing with carriers? Are you doing like T38 with them? Are you doing 7-Eleven pass through to get reliable faxing? How are you guys addressing that situation?
So a wise man once told me to go into VARS XML and T38 pass through true, and that has worked phenomenally. Like it's been great. But I'm pushing flow route to all the schools. One of which is because I don't know if, I'm sure that you guys know, but their SMS announcement, that would be perfect for schools for emergency notification. We can already do call broadcast with FreeSWITCH. I think SMS would be great to deploy, as far as, hey, it's snowing, no school, or
Yeah.
whatever. But it's out there. It just needs to be shown to them.
Yeah. Now, on the voice broadcast for that environment is actually an interesting kind of subject there because they do so many announcements. Hey, here's a reminder: school is closed next week for spring break, or don't forget to show up for the PTA meeting on Wednesday, or stuff like that. And not to mention, the usefulness of that in an emergency situation. To get the word out. How much? Now, you said you're actually doing that with FreeSWITCH already over there?
No, I was gonna get. I've been talking back with Juan at FlowRoute, and he was saying, "Hey, you want to get an SMS beta?" And I was like, "Okay, what does it entail?" He says, "Well, you have to send 1,000 messages out and receive 1,000 messages," and I wasn't ready to do that yet. So
Yeah.
I'm just waiting for launch, and I believe that is already taking place. I know you said the 1st of March. So I
Yeah,
don't
I'm
know if
not
that's
sure if they've launched it yet. I know it's coming pretty quick and everything. So, but are you guys doing the voice broadcast part of that yet, where you're having FreeSWITCH place calls out to parents and that kind of
yes.
stuff? Or?
So we have them do a recording, and upon answering, they hear the recording. And I know that you've done that before. That's what reminded me of it. I know that you did some campaign stuff for people, I think, in the past. And
Yeah, I've
that's
done a little bit of auto dialing.
yeah, a little
A
bit.
little bit. Yeah, we'll kind of skip over that stuff. But what are you guys doing? How are you guys doing that on FreeSWITCH currently? Are you using something that somebody else wrote, or did you guys write your own call handler for that?
We use something someone else wrote. It just takes a CSV of numbers,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll play those out. And then you can set number of simultaneous calls from within there, so you don't go over your virtual PRI or something like that. So
Yeah, is that an open source product that you're using?
mm-hmm.
Yeah. Which one is it?
I'd have to look.
Yeah,
I'd
well,
have to look.
give me a link, so we'll add that link to the show notes.
Yeah.
On the YouTube notes and
Okay.
everything, so we can do that. So, but yeah, so it sounds like it's in your area there. You're not having to fight the politics too bad of dealing with like the school boards and that kind of stuff, but it's more
It's
like they're trying to
it's
figure out a
more
way to save money because their budgets are getting slashed.
yes, and they have to now because I mean they were getting 60% of their communications paid for by the government, and now they're not. So they're
Yeah.
running around like chickens with their head cut off, trying to find a cost-effective solution.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. So what about the IP bandwidth, to get access to the outside world in these schools? Is that
So
something that they're still catching help from the government? And I know, being somebody that lives in a rural area, I know getting bandwidth at certain locations can be quite problematic.
yeah.
You
So
know.
here's the thing with that. There's a government entity within Arkansas called DIS, Arkansas Department of Information Systems. So we mentioned E-rate before in the past. So schools would normally E-rate their internet for their school, or they would get it provided by the state. So what's happening now, it's been rolling on for about a year now. They haven't finished up yet. But schools are slowly starting to get internet from the state, and they're going to have to cancel their ISP they have now. So the state is going to E-rate on behalf of the schools. So there's problems there. Like the bottom left-hand side of Arkansas is guaranteed 6 gigs of internet. Well, Bryant is supposed to get 4, and Cabot is supposed to get 3. So already they've oversubscribed. So we have 10 schools now. We have 6 schools now on the Arkansas state-provided internet, and the others on their own. So a lot of schools are keeping their other internet just in case something happens.
Just in
So
case stuff. Yeah.
yeah, so the state is installing ASAs at every school with their fiber for internet, and it's this huge, big, massive honking ASA. So someone up there at the state is friends with Cisco. So they're
That
deploying
wouldn't be
that
the first
everywhere.
state deployment like that.
Yeah, but so far it's been okay. I'm just anticipating on what's going to happen when all these schools get on it and just hammer the bandwidth. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. I know, in my area they're rolling out Wi-Fi that's accessible by the students with at least some internet access on it. It's heavily filtered, obviously, for various reasons, but they still have that in there. So they're putting a lot more load that we wouldn't have saw on a educational K through 12 network a decade ago.
Yeah.
I know I walked into schools a decade ago and I still saw like the original candy bubble iMac still laying around, and they hadn't made those in 20 years.
Ever. Yeah. And now all the testing is now online and everything's going online.
So that's a sure lot of bandwidth. So with that bandwidth coming up and the available bandwidth you guys have at the border, are you guys doing traffic shaping or anything like that?
Yeah, so I usually recommend that they kind of QoS the PBX going out, and also QoS within the network for the voice VLAN. But you have to put in a ticket with the state to get access to the ASA. They can't do that themselves. So that's the other problem too, is that they are not in charge of their router. They have to put in a ticket, and the state does it from their side. But so far it's been okay. Like I said, we'll just have to wait and see when everyone gets on the strand.
Yeah. To see what happens there.
We have something like that in Oklahoma called OneNet, where everybody is allegedly supposed to get their internet from this. If you're a K-12 organization, you have a connection to OneNet. And I remember, this is one thing I know for sure. Sprint used to have this area as a protection tower for their WiMAX, so you could never get the WiMAX service here from them. So I filed a complaint with the FCC, and legal from Sprint got back to me and was telling me that they provide internet service to all the K-12 organizations in the area, and that's all they have to do. And I'm like, that's a lie. That's an outright lie. I know better. So it's I don't agree with how OneNet is run, but it does save money for some of the schools.
And a lot of the people who won the bids for the fiber are Ritter, Windstream, and Cox, I believe. So Ritter was a big one, and Windstream is a big one, of course. But man, I've never liked Windstream's service. I mean,
no comment.
Yeah,
that's what I like
Brian
Windstream
had.
service. I like Windstream service. What I don't like is their support.
So that's what Bryant had, and it took 2 days to get a splice done on a fiber cut. But when that fiber cut fed a Verizon tower, it was done within the next hour. So if it was just the school, it took a couple days. But that's what I didn't like.
Yeah, it depends on how fast they can get a tech out. I know my fiber here is on the same cables that feed a AT&T fiber remote and two AT&T towers. So if I catch a backhoe attack, they should be out here fairly quick. But as long as it's not between me and the fiber remote, because that's where my fiber goes. But there's a lot of stuff like that we see. I know one of the other things that I wanted to ask you about, and this is more of from a political perspective. I've seen in the past where prior to me actually getting involved with open source VoIP, is I actually did a lot of IT telecom and structured cabling work. And we did a job for a large school system in southwest Tennessee. We won't say which one it is. Where basically they had taken over a county school and it was all wired to the hill. It was all wired up pretty nice, structured cabling system, Cat 5, 5E at the time, and they decided. And of course, their computers for the classrooms and such were like the old bubble iMacs, 100 meg at best on those things. And then they sit here and they rip every inch of wire out of the school and replace it with brand new Cat 6, take the amount of cabling to each classroom and quadruple it. And they already had like 25 drops in each classroom in the first place. And all new Cat 6. We're talking just the copper prices alone for the wiring, not including the fiber and, the wiring closet support that you have to do for that with all the patch panels and wire management, et cetera, to make it, actually usable. It was insane. Do you guys see that sort of same kind of thing over there where they get money for technology, but they can't use it where they really need to use it? They have to use it on these wacky ideas that.
Right. So there's stuff out there.
They're way overbuilding X, but they can't even use it because what it's for with Y, and Y not even to that anywhere near that capability level.
There's a lot of bottleneck solutions. Well, not solutions. Situations that I've run into like that, where Category 2 money goes for wireless, and man, like 2 of these schools have ran Cat 6A to their APs before, and I'm like, I don't know why they did, why they want to run Cat 6A, but they don't have the backbone, and they're not educated on what they need to do on their backbone to utilize what they're doing right now. So
just
a lot of these, so I'm having a meeting tomorrow with Rogers School District, and they're a huge school district. They don't have VLANs. They've got D-Link switches, Cat 5, and she says that I have a bottleneck somewhere, and I'm like, I can't imagine why. So I'm going up there to walk through with her and kind of help her out and talk to her about voice over IP and VLANs, and just let her know that us tech guys are crying for her in her time of need. So
yeah, I can imagine, walking into some of these areas where they don't have professional IT people on staff.
And that's what
out of water.
That's what we're here for. I mean, especially you guys. I think that's what we're all here for. Let me get my camera right. We're all here for is to help these people who are an English teacher or something like that don't have the staff or the knowledge, and kind of say, hey, other schools are doing this, you should too. And they have a community where they talk back and forth. It's called sysadmin. It's a mailing list within Arkansas that everyone can be a part of if you're an IT director or coordinator, and kind of ask for help, or, hey, what are you guys doing different next year than this year or whatever. So, but a lot of them don't have time to sit on their computer and check emails and conspiracy theories and share those with everyone else and stuff like that. So,
yeah, no, I know how that is. Is there any? Oh, go ahead, Brian.
I've got a question. You probably remember reading about this a while back. There was a gentleman that was doing cat cabling for a school, and he would use a bow and arrow to shoot it across, and he actually got in trouble. Have they rectified a utility that allows you to run the cable as quickly as that without getting somebody in federal trouble?
I don't think so. I know there's a fishing rod that can do something like that, but I usually use a fish tape or pull string.
Yeah.
But I mean,
I was reading about it, and it was like, that's just stupid. The guy's trying to.
It probably happened in Arkansas.
It was near here, so that's the reason I had heard about it. The guy got in trouble for taking a weapon on school property.
Yeah, well, they actually make a tool that's a crossbow that shoots like a dart that has like a tennis ball on the end of it that you tie your pull string to and everything. But yeah, with the way that the stupid rules are with weapons these days, I don't know that I'd take that. I have in a school environment, use like a big roll of tape or a big heavy metal ring to tie the pull string through too, so you can just throw it across the drop ceiling. The only problem is you just got to watch out what you're doing there, because you'll make the fire inspector mad, and they get really cranky when you do stuff that violates the rules. And of course, they're going to inspect every inch of it. And of course, rightly so, they're going to inspect every inch of it, because I mean, it's the kids. I mean, you don't want that stuff coming down. Because I can tell you from previous experience, I've looked into ceilings of some businesses, and the amount of comm wire that they have running 58 different ways in there, 30 different layers of networking over 20 or 30 years, that they've just never ripped out anything previously. I'd hate for that ceiling to come down.
And it's just laying on the grid, weighing it down.
Yeah. And God forbid it comes down, because somebody's gonna get hurt or trapped if it ever comes down in a bad situation.
And a lot of these schools are starting to pull that out now and recycle it, and then get money that way and put it back in their operating budget, which I think is a good idea. I mean,
no, I think it's a good idea. Somebody said if I think it was British Telecom ripped out all their copper in the ground and recycled it, they could pay for upgrading the entire country to fiber and have money left over. So I can see schools, especially with copper recycling prices these days, making a fair bit of money off of that. So I want to ask, anybody else have any questions for Blake? Or Blake, is there anything you want to get out there today?
Just pretty much tell you guys thanks for helping me out, and thanks for all your work. And I'm speaking on behalf of the schools that are using FreeSWITCH too. I know they're seeing cost savings. I put them in charge of their flow route so they can see how much they're saving, and either that goes back in the IT budget or whatever. But you guys are rocking it. Thanks for all your help, and you're continuing to develop on FreeSWITCH, especially with Verdo now. That's a great thing to have. I haven't deployed that in the school yet, but I know that it will benefit as far as distance learning and stuff like that, where kids have to call into like a professor at a certain college to get concurrent credit or something like that. But I know that that'll help out, and you guys have done a lot to help them save them money.
Thank you for coming. For actually putting us out there in front of those guys, because it's and I'm going to say this for the FreeSWITCH, for the whole FreeSWITCH team here. It's guys like Blake here, and guys like Giovanni over in Italy, guys like Chris Rienzo, and the community guys that don't work on FreeSWITCH every day, but they're using this and getting it in front of their businesses and in front of different school systems. There's guys that are deploying FreeSWITCH in the uni environment, not just K through 12. I know there's public sector people that are looking at FreeSWITCH. So there's a lot of different things, and it depends on where you're located with the politics that you got to deal with. I know a guy in Florida that works for shall we say, a large county down there, and he wants to deploy FreeSWITCH, but he's getting pushback because it's not one of the big names, because one of the big names is lobbying the crap out of the county commission to block that, because they know that's going to cost them a lot of money. So they're paying politicians they're donating to politicians' reelection campaigns, right? To try to keep us out. And see that deployment, because it can make a significant impact on budgets. So thanks for putting us in front of those schools over there. And I know Blake's around. He hangs out and he helps. He doesn't just ask questions. He does help other people in the community also on IRC on a regular basis. So you guys say hi to him on IRC. So any questions real quick from anybody? Brian,
well, I would like to remind everybody that Italo and I are bringing back the Thursday bug hunts. You'll probably have an email to the mailing list sometime in the next 24 hours to bring that back on Thursdays. That's to kind of help everybody that has filed a JIRA, help give them guidance and information on how to push an issue they've reported over the finish line. While FreeSWITCH is open source, it does take a lot of effort on your side if you do have an issue to help guide that through the process. We thank everybody for filing issues. But unfortunately, you need to help out a little bit to help push that over the finish line. We have a stack of issues that I've said here that have been originally reported. I have just went through and closed a huge stack of them because the original reporter wouldn't respond to our questions. And you know, I want to kind of get that engaged in the community. So everybody be on the lookout for that. And thank you for being involved in the FreeSWITCH community, Blake. That's been great.
No problem. I appreciate you guys very much. I also have a question. If there's any kind of feature request that a school could need or something like that, how would I go about doing that? Would I reach out to FreeSWITCH Solutions?
Yes. If you want something developed commercially, that's the best course of action.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Yeah, and that goes for anybody else too. If there's a feature for FreeSWITCH that you need help with, and you want to engage the team, and you want to help the project, email consulting@freeswitch.org with the details of what you need. One of the guys, Brian, myself, William, somebody will get back to you, and we can help you with that project. That's how we fund. That's actually how we fund the project. That's how we keep Tony over there happy and coding. Is you know, it's community support. It's guys like Blake. It's guys like the different, you know, all the different organizations that use FreeSWITCH and either, you know, and sponsor ClueCon, you know, and fund the developers. So we can't do this stuff without you guys. And like Brian says, even just on the bug tracker, we can't do that without feedback from the community on those tickets. If you open one, please update it. We can't do this without guys like Atalo, who Atalo and Boatman, John Boatler, who are, you know, helping out with the documentation and various aspects of the project. So thanks, guys, for all the help. Also, don't forget, guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up real quick. So, and then we'll open the floor up for just some general discussion this afternoon. But don't forget, follow us on Twitter at FreeSWITCH or at ClueCon. You'll get all the updates there on what's coming up this week. Join us on IRC or on HipChat. You can also like us on Facebook. Miss Kathleen makes posts there on a regular basis. You can also visit freeswitch.org to see what's going on. Or if you want to sign up for ClueCon, go to ClueCon.com. And as always, click that subscribe button right down below. You'll get the updates on who's coming up, and you'll get that alert on our YouTube channel so we can get all those things going. Thanks, guys, and we'll see you next week. And thanks, Blake.